Well, here we're here to talk about. I'm Casey Wood again. Sorry, from UDSS. We're here to explain everything about accessibility in 10 whole minutes. So off we go. No, we're not really going to explain everything about accessibility. We're going to try to give you a broad brush, 1 millimeter thin overview of it. And we decided to choose universal design for learning as the way to do that, because it's kind of more of a mindset than it is how to do individual things. And with that, I guess we'll just jump into our slides, if he knows how to do that. Yay. Okay. So we'll give you an overview of what UDL is, try to make a connection between UDL and accessibility, and then we'll have some resources at the end. And there's going to be some more things posted on the boot camp shared place, whatever that is, but I'm sure people will tell you about that. Ooh, I'm going very fast. Okay. Well, UDL, there's universal design and there's universal design for learning. So as you can probably tell, universal design for learning is just a more particular form of universal design. But it's all about minimizing barriers. It's all about maximizing accessibility for all students. So it's not just about the students with disabilities in your classroom. It's about everybody. A rising tide raises all boats, if you want to use that analogy. But especially, it's especially helpful for students with disabilities. We'd love it if UDL put us all out of business at disability support. Well, maybe not, but. And the last point on the slide is, a lot of people will ask, well, is my website compliant? Am I meeting the guidelines? Am I meeting Section 504? Or am I meeting WCAG? Or am I meeting all of these acronyms? And maybe you are, but you need to think about that, compliant and accessibility, but you also need to think about usability. How usable is my site? So, okay, it meets all the bells and whistles, but if nobody knows how to get around in it, or if it's not very intuitive for someone using some assistive technology, then it's not really universal design. I should give Marielle a chance to talk. You want to jump in?
Sure, I can jump in.
Ooh, she's going to talk about this thing that's been boiled down to that. So what we're going to talk about, it's from an organization called CAST. I wish I remembered what CAST was. But it's a nonprofit organization that teaches about universal design. And everything about universal design actually fits on one page. And it's really only about 3 columns and 3 elements within each column. Marielle's going to talk about that.
Yeah, and I know that we have uploaded a link to that handout. So if you want more information in that bootcamp shell, you can access it there. But pretty quickly, when we're thinking about UDL, there's 3 main points that we want to keep in mind. That's representation, action and expression, and engagement. The big key word about UDL is multiple means. So when we're thinking about representation, that's the what of learning, what students are learning. Action and expression, the how are students expressing what they learn? And engagement, why are they choosing to learn the things that they're learning? Let's see if I go the right way. So a little bit more about representation, or the what of learning. Thinking about accessibility, this means presenting information and content in different ways. So a couple of examples of how you can be accessible doing this is something you're probably already doing. Providing notes for lectures, and another example is using captioning for any video content. For action and expression, the how of learning, differentiating the ways that students can express what they know. And so here, if you can really tie into your learning objectives and think about what are some different ways that students can meet this learning objective. Is the best way for them to meet that a test? Does that test need to be completed in a certain amount of time? Is it better met with a paper? Or perhaps this learning objective would be better explored with a discussion. And then finally, the engagement, or the why of learning. So this is all about stimulating interest and motivation for learning. And this comes down to a lot of times the more intrinsic skills associated with learning. And these could be like the goals, your learning objectives, collaboration and communication, how to work with your peers, and how to self-regulate or make your way through modules that you're designing. And so, like I said, these are oftentimes thought of intrinsic skills, but to promote accessibility, sometimes these need to be taught explicitly. And so now that we've talked about UDL, we're going to try to tie this back into the actual idea of accessibility. And so, Casey, I think I'll probably give it back over to you.
So this slide talks a little bit about how it's easier to look forward than to fix stuff. Easier to make stuff right at the beginning than to fix stuff that's broken. At UDSS, that's what we do mostly, is we try to come in at the last minute or after the fact and make accessibility happen where it wasn't happening before. And if we can look forward and create accessibility as content's being created, then that actually saves a lot of people work in the long run. And then you don't have to even think about, is my site accessible? Or are my students with disabilities going to need some extra stuff for this class? It's all going to be built in. And the throwback on everybody that accessibility is the responsibility of everybody at an institution. It's not just the Disability Service Office. It's not just Old Main. It's everybody. So here's a sort of a laundry list of just what's important and what jumps out. Readable PDFs, we threw that in because a lot of PDFs that get generated, if you scan a document and you post it, it's probably going to be an image-based PDF. And those are just not accessible to screen readers. A screen reader looks at that, doesn't know what to do with it. So there's all that text there, but it's not accessible. You need to run that PDF through software to extract the characters out and the text out and turn it into something that can be read. And navigable Word docs, just things like headings and consistent structure, something that assistive technology can hold on to and give the user a framework, an outline of what the document's all about. People who use screen readers or document readers can cycle through all the headings if they want and kind of get a sense of like you would if you were going to read a document. You'd skim the document and see, oh, here's all the headings, here's what it's about. If you don't tag all those things with headings, there's no differentiation within the screen reader, and it's all just a long string of text, and it's really hard for people to know where they are. Alternative text for images, just that. It's a text description of what the picture is, so people who can't perceive the picture in a visual way can know what the picture is in text-based. Discussions are big. Discussions can pose a lot of problems for people with disabilities and using screen readers. If you can just keep them as simple as you can and as few layers as you can, that makes it, people don't get as lost into what, is that a reply to a reply to a reply? So just be mindful of that a little bit and how far out you let discussions go. Maybe discussions need to be redirected to a new thread if they get too convoluted. Something we do very frequently at UDSS is build in extra exam time for students who need it. You can do that within WIO courses. Under our old platforms, you could do it kind of on a semester basis or a student basis, and unfortunately, right now you can't do that, and you can't do that anymore. You have to do it test by test, student by student. So if you've got one student in your class who needs extra test time, you're going to need to go in and physically, do something to each test to give test time, to give extra test time. And then video content, again, it's adding captions to it. Captions to a video is a lot like adding alternative text to images. Okay. I have no idea how long I've been talking.
7 minutes.
7 minutes left or 7 minutes? We only have 3 minutes left. Okay. Boot camp. Boot camp. Drop it and give me 20, soldier. I don't know. What did we say about this one? I mean, there are legal accessibility requirements. I have another slide coming up that, that maybe don't get so hung up on that. I mean, there are people that'll do that, get hung up on that for you, but you might not have to know all the legal requirements. And just think about the most appropriate technology in document format. Start simple. It's a quote that I like from a person at the University of Washington is we have to make this stuff fairly easy, because if we want everybody to do it, it's got to be on some level fairly easy to do. Because if it's too hard, no one will be able to do it. Just think about how your students interact with you and interact with the class. And I guess going back a few minutes ago, accessibility, all kinds of accessibility are really just making alternative ways of doing things. So UDL is about multiple forms of expression and accessibility in general is just doing things in multiple ways. So if you hit a roadblock, I can't perceive things visually. Well, there's another way. Just think about a multiple way to put that information out. Here's a slide I just threw in, and this Terrell Thompson comes up with he came up with these 5 simple steps, and I think it's a pretty good laundry list. Headings, which I talked about before. Put headings in your documents and just some basic structure, and try to use the built-in styles within Word, because if you just go in and go, okay, I'll just make all my headings, heading 1's bold, and I'll make all these underlined, that's not a big enough differentiation for a screen reader. It's still going to it may not perceive that bold text is anything different than any other text. But it does know to go through and find all the heading 1s and heading 2s. As you said, add alternative text. Choose colors with high contrast. A lot of that's getting built into the course platform already. Our office and lots of folks are working with the actual web nuts and bolts designer people to make sure that the color contrasts are good. But if you're building your own content, a document, try to think about, is there enough contrast between the colors in the document that it's not going to be a problem. And if you're using color alone to represent something, try to think of another way to get the information out than just, find all the red things on this document. Well, you may have a student who can't find all the red things in the document. So maybe you underline the things too. You do something else to the text that makes it findable. Captured videos. And then the last one is, I added the word yourself because I think it helps this sentence, but when you're thinking about maybe using a bell or whistle that you've just learned about, I struggle with this balance between creativity and accessibility, and we certainly don't want to stifle anyone's creativity, but we'd like you to be mindful of, hey, I'm going to choose this new bell and whistle. Is it the best thing to do? Is it the most accessible thing to do? How is choosing the bell going to affect people who may have a disability? And maybe to the end. Here's some. We made should I give this?
No, you're good.
Okay, I'm good. Okay, we're building a course within Canvas that people can sign up for. We're trying to figure out how we're going to do the whole sign up thing. But we did build a course that people can go through and explore some of these concepts in greater depth, and some examples on how to do things. We have videos, caption videos, of how to do simple things like adding headings to Word and adding alternative text to pictures and things. So we have videos and we have short quizzes. Hopefully, maybe we'll turn this into a certificate kind of course. So if you pass all the quizzes with a high enough score, you can actually get a certificate that you can do whatever you need to do with it. But to show, have a group of people who've passed the course. I think this link is how you go and sign up for it. Pretty sure. Mariel did it, so I bet you it's right. And here's just a list of the sources where we pulled some information. That CAST site is there's a boatload of stuff in there. You drill down through all their stuff, and I think they get into examples. You can find this document, just one page, grid format. They do the same thing in like a checklist, here's all the principles and here's a place for notes. So if you like that more linear style. They have a long, drawn-out, text-based, many-page description of what UDL is. So you can drill down, and I think I have all those to share with the bootcamp folks.